You're at the Irish Roots Cafe down by the Riverwalk, and this is the History of the Irish in America, Episode 25, The Story of the Lost Tribes in Georgia, Part 3. And we've got another wild crowd tonight. One of three broadcast series found at irishroots.com. I'm Mike O'Laughlin, your host, and you can reach me at mike@irishroots.com or mail to Box 7575, Kansas City, Missouri, 64116. That's the old-fashioned way. Consider phoning in with your comments to 816-256-3360. Let us know the history of the Irish in your part of the world. I'm always eager to record another part of our Irish heritage here, and 100 years from now, people are really going to be interested in what you had to say, and they can't come back on you then either, I don't think. Well, we've gathered together a group of scholars, authors, and everyday Irish to paint us a picture of the Irish in America. Among today's topics, how in the world did they get 750,000 strong in Savannah for St. Patrick's Day? The parade there and Hibernian history. Two bishops Boland, Ranger battalions and a major port, the Sergeant Jasper ceremony, and your invitation to the next parade from Walt Harper himself. Hey, take a look at the Irish Roots Cafe webpage if you get the chance. Find a book, search for your family tree, or even become a member. It all goes to keep things rolling in the right direction. And you can surely get there from here by going to www.irishroots.com. Remember to check all the show notes on our blog for this episode, and you might be a few extra things in there. And remember, get all three of our free podcasts: the Irish in America broadcast, this one right here, Irish Families Worldwide broadcast, which focuses on Irish families and genealogy, and the Irish Song and Recitation Festival, our newest. I think it's time to move on to the book of the week. What do we got here? Well, it's going to be The Days We Celebrated St. Patrick's Day in Savannah. That's got a little over 200 pages, I think, and it's by William L. Fogarty, and that was a couple of decades ago, so it catches us up on a lot of history and goes all the way back for a lot of the organizations there in Savannah. I was really surprised to see the list of all the organizations that have come and gone, and that includes, of course, the Hibernian Society that Walt's going to tell us about, and the Fencibles. They were 1818 to 1828, whatever that was. The Association of Friends of Ireland, the Irish Union Society, St. Patrick's Total Abstinence and Benevolent Society, and there's a total of 31 of them listed there, so there's a little piece of history all in itself. And I sure thank Walt and the genealogy folks for giving that book to me when I left, because there's a lot of good history I'm going to be reading in it, and that's for sure. We won't have a web page of the week. All you have to do is type in Savannah, Georgia, and you're going to find all kinds of things. I'll leave that up to you. And it reminds me to tell all of you, and especially our members, thanks, because without you, these podcasts would not be possible. And donations of knowledge or even cash to keep the transmitters running will be accepted, and sponsors are always welcome. And it's just about time now for today's conversation. We're going to be talking once again with Walt Harper. We ended up the last broadcast right in the middle of our conversation out there in front of Kevin Barry's on the riverfront in Savannah itself, and he's got a whole lot to tell us, and like I've said before, he's the reason for this podcast on Savannah. There's always a few people that take things into their own hands and get things done, and he's one of those. He called me right out of the blue one day and said he had heard the podcast and sure talked up Savannah and all the people there, and he was telling the truth. So I ended up going down there and giving that talk just about a month or so ago, and really enjoyed it and learned a little bit while I was on the way. So our tip of the hat to Walt Harper for putting this together, and I want to remind you that there's some more of you out there that can do the same thing for your area of the world, so feel free to do so, because that's what I'm here for. I really enjoy it. let's explore a little bit about our Irish heritage. Now let's get back to Walt. And the question of the day was, Walt, what about the history of the parade in Savannah? When did it begin, and what were some of the politics behind it? Let's go back there right now.
It started out in 1824 by the Hibernians. And as you know, the Hibernians were actually formed as a group to help the Irish settle into everyday life.
Right.
As you know, back in that time, the Irish were not welcome in America, and especially with the signs Irish need not apply. So, these guys always kind of help them get situated and get them jobs and get them into the town and get them to where they could start a new life. And the Savannah Parade started in 1824 with that, and it's grown ever since. I think during World War II was the only time that they did not have a parade for the 4 years during World War II. But other than that, the parade has gone on for 84 years, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, and how, roughly how many people or where it ranks in the parades in America?
Well, we like to think it's the best parade in the but I think it ranks right up there. It's the second largest in the United States, behind the New York parade. Right. This past year we had a little over 200 units in the parade, and we had, I want to say it was like 37 bands. Of those 37 bands, over half of them were pipe bands. So we do get a lot of people coming in, and we do get a lot of participants from the New York, Chicago parades.
Right.
And even they come down, when they come down and see the parade and they've heard of the parade, they always say, this is the best parade, because unlike New York and Chicago, where it could be 30 below and blowing snow, here it's usually about 63, 65 degrees, sunshiny, and the azaleas are in bloom, and it's just a great time.
That's the secret ingredient. I forgot all about the weather. The weather being so pleasant, that would be a nice place to be on any St. Patty's Day.
Yes.
There's no doubt. Gosh, I guess, of course, a lot of times depends on what the rest of the country's doing, how the weather is for their turnout, but yours must be pretty constant, and I imagine it draws from the whole region around you pretty heavy, too.
Yes, it does. We get bands up from Florida, Alabama, South Carolina. We get bands for as far away as New York City, and we even had a band in from California one year. And whenever they come here, they're just amazed at the number of people that are here. We range anywhere from 400,000 people to 750,000 people just in downtown area alone.
Yeah, that's just amazing. That is just an amazing fact. I wonder if now you were talking about that. Does that parade start out at the cathedral?
The parade starts just south of the cathedral, and as it winds up, the leading units are the flags, the county flags of Ireland, followed by the Grand Marshal. And the Grand Marshal, they always stop at the cathedral. The Grand Marshal gets out, and the bishop blesses him, and he blesses the parade. And then he gets back in his vehicle, and then they take off again, and the bishop follows in right behind him.
Now, were the Hibernians or the parade, or is there a tie-in with the Scotch-Irish, particularly back in the beginning?
Not so much. The Scotch-Irish were not as prevalent in Savannah. They were more or less towards the south because General James Oglethorpe, whenever he founded the city of Savannah in 1734, had brought in the Scots-Irish and had placed them down around Darien, McIntosh County, as a buffer between Savannah and the Spanish down to Florida. And ironically enough, whenever Oglethorpe first founded Savannah, it was said that Irish or Catholics were not allowed in the settlement. Mm-hmm. And that was the connection between the Irish being Catholic and the Pope, and the Spanish being Catholic and the Pope also. They didn't want them to come in and have the Pope take over the states and the colonies. So that's why they would not allow them to come in. But over time, was also told that they didn't want lawyers. But if you walked around Savannah earlier today, you saw a lawyer's office on just about every street corner. So.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's a good thing we've learned how to live together. That's a plus.
Yeah, yeah.
Now there's also a connection, trying to look for connections here in the States. I think there's a connections between bishops between Kansas City and Savannah.
Yeah, there is. There is. We have a Bishop Boland, just like you have a Bishop Boland.
That's right.
I mean, it's kind of ironic, and how things kind of come around. But when I first talked to you about, oh Lord, I guess it was about 2 years ago. I guess we were talking, and you asked if we had a bishop by the name of Boland, and I said yes, and he said, well, it's ironic. I said, yeah. I said, you got a bishop by the name of Boland too. So.
And they're two brothers born in Ireland, and they're the first to serve concurrently in America as bishops, as I understand it, which is pretty interesting, and it says a lot about America still yet today, and the role of the Irish here.
Yes, it does. It does. I believe he is from County Cork, just outside of Cork, going back towards Kinsale. Actually, a friend of mine, and I'm not sure if you heard the story or not, Bishop Boland, my Bishop Boland, was still a father or a Monsignor at Blessed Sacrament Church. And this communicant got up and he said that the homilist today was going to be Bishop Boland. And it just so happened that his brother became the bishop first. And it's like everybody out in the audience was like, their eyes glazed over, so because they thought that he had become bishop and didn't tell anybody about it. But it was just his brother had come into town, and they got a big laugh out of that.
Oh, so. Sure. What about the people that's the dancers or artists you might have that stay all year long? I know you've got some dance groups.
Yes, we got 3 dance groups here in town. We got the Gloria Aaron Irish dancers, we got the Savannah Irish dancers, and we have another one, a brand new one. They are down in Richmond Hill, and they are a brand new group. So we've got 3 Irish dance groups here. So we've got the traditions of the Irish are still taught. We've also got what's called the Savannah Irish Festival, which actually kicks off the Irish season here in Savannah.
And what is that?
That starts about mid-February, probably about the 14th, 15th of February. That's when basically all of the Irish events start and go all the way through St. Patrick's Day. So it's not just a couple of days before St. Patrick's Day, but it's actually a whole month beforehand. We have the election of the Grand Marshal, and we have a couple other ceremonies. We have the Celtic Cross ceremony, and we just there's some places that St. Patrick's Day is all about partying and drinking, but we do have that here. I'm not going to lie to you. We do have that here, all up and down the area that's out front of the pub here, and you can't even walk around during St. Patrick's Day. But we also have the the religious side of it too, and also the solemn and side of it to include family and friends, and the quieter side of it.
Yeah, that's at the heart of it that keeps it going, I think. A party can wear out after a while, but if you've got some meaning there, just like that pub has extra meaning, too, with this room upstairs here and all these photos that remind you of real American history. You wouldn't even have to be Irish to appreciate this, that's for sure.
Right. And let me show you these three photographs right back here in the corner. We can just walk back here for just a second.
Sure.
We'll walk back here, and these three gentlemen right here, they were with the First Regiment 75th Ranger Battalion, Bradley Gross, Mark Anderson, and Matthew Commons.
Right.
They died in Afghanistan in March 4th, 2002. And I was in charge of the Sergeant William Jasper ceremony that particular year, and I knew Matthew Commons from coming in here, and a very polite boy, very and he enjoyed the music, and just enjoyed himself in here all of the time, and I just enjoyed being around him. I mean, he made me feel younger just being here with him.
Sure.
And unfortunately, he passed away. Him and his Army buddies passed away on, like I said, on the 4th of March 2002, and the general chairman of the parade asked me if I would do something to honor those three gentlemen, and I said, you know what? I said, I already got it covered. I had my MC was up there, and he asked everybody for a moment of silence for these three gentlemen, and I had a lone piper that was going to play Amazing Grace, and I was only going to have him do the first verse, and then that was going to be it. But he got finished with the first verse, and we had two pipe bands that were in the ceremony that were taking active participation in the ceremony. One of them was the pipes and drums of the New York Shields from up in New York City, and the pipes and drums of the Irish Air Corps.
Right.
And when it came time for the second verse, those two bands piped in on cue to play the second verse. Now, not only those two bands, but there was two other ones that were out in the audience watching that got together and started piping. So we had four pipe bands in a mass pipe band playing. So we had about 100 bagpipes going. And by the time that they finished that second verse, there was not a dry eye in that square.
That's what I was going to say. It had been difficult to keep a dry eye.
And my MC, which was our news anchor from WTOC, Sonny Dixon, he had to get his composure back, before he could go on. And that's what it's all about. It was in the spirit of the Sergeant Jasper ceremony, and it was in the spirit of what Sergeant Jasper was actually really about. He was there to rescue the colors, and to be there for the enlisted guy, and that's what the whole spirit of this thing is about, is honoring the military and the job that they do. So,
yes.
There's all kinds of facets to this parade. It's not just a one-day event where, we get together at 10 o'clock in the morning and start the parade, and then, we're done. There's all kinds of things that lead up to it, and that also finish it off.
Well, do you think there's room, if any of our listeners out there want to come down to your next parade, if there is room, and if there is, what's the best way for them to plan on being there?
Oh, sure. We welcome anybody and everybody. My suggestion is to go ahead right now and make your reservations for St. Patrick's Day.
Mm-hmm.
I believe St. Patrick's Day, we always have St. Patrick's Day on March the 17th, unless it falls on a Sunday, and then we have it that Saturday before.
Right.
But this coming year is going to be on Tuesday, March the 17th. So there probably won't be as many people attending this parade, which is good, because it gives a chance for people that don't normally get to come down and see the parade. We still have probably 400,000 to 500,000 people, a far cry less than the 3/4 to 800,000 people that we normally have on a Thursday, Friday, or a Monday parade.
And so, I imagine if you get anywhere near a downtown area, you don't need a car. You don't even want a car, do you?
Exactly right, and that's the beauty of it, Mike. Is as you're staying over at the Hilton, and I mean everything is within walking distance. There are several hotels that are in the downtown area, and all of them do offer packages for St. Patrick's Day, but you have to go ahead and get them now because they do fill up quick. Once you get into town and get settled, you don't need your car. You just walk around. We have the city market. That's always a good time, and then you have the River Street down here, and then you got the parade. And
right, and this city's really easy to look out on too. As I looked out when I was up in the hotel room at the banquet, everything's low. You don't have a bunch of high rises filling up the skyway.
Right. We there's very few buildings that are over 10 or 12 stories. The Hilton that you were at was one of them, and there's a couple of others. There's not that many, and we love our trees, and we love the way the downtown is laid out in the squares, which was Oglethorpe's plan of laying out the city. So
we just got done with the Savannah Area Genealogical Association banquet that I mentioned. How's everybody seem to feel about that?
Well, you know what, Mike? I think everybody really thoroughly enjoyed your talk, and they enjoyed having you here. And come Monday, we have our monthly business meeting, and I guess I'll find out even more then. But just from the people that I talked to before we left that night, everybody was just really excited about having you here, and really enjoyed your talk.
Boy, that's great. I remember we had a nice dinner. Your wife, Mary, made that special dinner, and several of the people came over. We got out in that little courtyard in the back of your place. That was really nice. And that special picture up on the second floor there in the room, who was that of? Was that Emmett?
That was a picture of a portrait of Robert Emmett. Yeah.
And
portrait of Robert Emmett.
And that's a little bit of history too. And the portrait was a line drawing from way back when, was it 100 years or more ago?
1824 was the date on that picture. It was a line and stencil etching is what it was, and it was drawn from a actual portrait. Somebody drew a obverse of the portrait on a stone, and they printed it out just like they would a press, and basically like a lithograph. And there's only a couple hundred of them left, and fortunately I was able to get one of them. It was just by accident that I found it too.
Well, I tell you what, sometimes there's a little more fate involved than we know. These things come to us because we've got an open eye. Now, is there, before we sign off here, I know that Katie's back there working the machine in Kansas City. I hope all these voices are coming through okay. Is there anything else we should share with our audience here before we sign out?
Well, I don't know. I just want to just let everybody know that they are invited to Savannah for St. Patrick's Day.
This private force where we had a chance to talk, and now we're going to have to give it to them, or I think we're going to be in trouble.
Well, I think so because there's a bunch of people that want to come on up, and this is their pub too, and there's a lot of tourists that come in here, but there's also a lot of locals that come in here too, and I think they're wanting to get on the air too, Mike. So,
well, thank you, Walt. We'll be coming back there one day, and we'll listen to Harry O'Donohue down there sing another tune, and hopefully we'll have some Irish. And until we meet again, I'll be leaving here in about an hour. I catch a plane out to Atlanta and then out to wherever. It's been great, and we sure hope to hear from you again.
Yeah, well, Mike, we thoroughly enjoyed having you here. The last couple of days with you has been great. Me picking you up at the airport. I wasn't quite sure who it was, but as soon as I saw you, I knew exactly who it was I was supposed to be getting. So, we had a good talk back back to the hotel, and then, enjoyed having you over and eating dinner and having the time in the backyard and enjoying the courtyard and the stories and everything that the officers of the Savannah Area Genealogical Association were giving out. And I mean, it was just a good time. I mean, it really was.
Yeah,
and I thoroughly hope that you enjoyed yourself too.
Well, that's way, and I know it is, and that's because every day's a holiday at the Irish Roots Cafe. Well, I'd like to thank Walt Harper for helping put this whole thing together. He's the one person more than any other that's responsible for putting Savannah on the map on these podcasts, and I hope that history spreads throughout the U.S. and helps us all understand our brotherhood. And Walt, you've earned a permanent place at the table here at the cafe. We're going to engrave a little nameplate and put it right at that table just in front of the bar not the bar, the little stage there where everybody performs. It seems like you're a natural for that. And thanks to your wife, too, she did some great entertaining and some great cooking. And the banquet was great. So thanks to you all there, I can sure attest to the hospitality. Now remember to send your books, sing your songs, play your tunes, or send your family search to me here by email or by mail to our American address at the Irish Roots Cafe, Box 7575, Kansas City, Missouri 64116. And report on things in your part of the world by phoning me at 1-816-256-3360. Or you can Skype me at Irish Roots Cafe. Can you hear that whistle blowing? That's right, folks. Until next time, we meet right here down by the river, right where Ireland met America, at the Irish Roots Cafe.